I've always been interested in birds all my life. I drew my first bird, a blue tit, when I was only 6 years old, and I painted my first, a robin, when I was 8. In them days I collected eggs like most kids did, and in 1967, when I was, I think, 29, I got a couple of red rumps and a couple of cockatiels. They were rescue birds, and I ended up breeding 4 young red rumps, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So the next year I kept 4 pairs and bred 17, including a yellow. The year after that I bought my first pair of pennants. Now they cost me £90. And in today's money, that's about £1,400. And I remember I was short of money for the male as it got towards spring, and I was going out ploughing extra overtime after the other lad on the farm had gone home. I would carry on from 10 o'clock till 2 and 3 in the morning at 5 shillings an hour. And the bird cost me £35, so I was doing an awful lot of overtime at that time. And the very first year I bred a nest of 6, and I soon built up to 5 or 6 pairs, and I remember one year I bred 27. I just had a knack of breeding them, a gift of breeding them, and I put an awful lot of effort into it as well. And shortly after that I decided I would buy some yellow rosellas, which were a phenomenal price, but I'd realised that they all breed equally well in the wild, and yet yellow rosellas were very, very rare in captivity. And I realised that the reason they were rare in captivity was that they mostly were owned by collectors, not breeders. And I was a breeder. The money from it would be terrific. So I scratched and saved, and I got the money together. I bought a cock yellow rosella, couldn't find a hen, so I paired it up to a hen pennant and bred some Adelaides. The next year I got a female yellow rosella, and the first year I bred 5 chicks off them. And very quickly I'd built up to 5 pairs, and my best year with the yellow rosellas I bred 22. Now they were at that time £800 a pair, and hyacinth macaws were £800 a pair. Palm cockatoos were £800 a pair, and I was selling my yellow rosellas in Holland and then buying hyacinths and palms for the same money. That's how come I got so many of the hyacinths and palms. The Tasmanian, the green rosella, was even more expensive. In today's money, they were £18,000 a pair. And I'd started to breed this species quite prolifically. Then, on a trip to Holland in the spring of 1975, I went to a bird dealer's premises and saw my first pair of blue-throated conures, Piura cruentata. And I had Forshaw's Parrots of the World book with me, and all it said in there was nothing is known of this species. Then in 1976 they laid 2 clutches of 5 eggs a clutch, but they were all infertile, and I thought they could be 2 hens. But in 1977 they laid 5 fertile eggs and reared all 5. I was later given the Parrot Society's gold medal for the first ever breeding of this species in England. And from those 2 original birds and an exchange I did with Mrs. Spenkelink from Holland, I actually filled England with them. They're extremely rare, extremely endangered. They've been on CITES A list since 1975, when it was introduced. and they're still on the A list, and I've bred hundreds of them, and I would think that there's very few in England that haven't got the blood of my original two birds, and they're depicted, the female is depicted there. They're a bird I've loved all my life, and when I got raided by customs I had 72 of them. They didn't even ask a question about those, because at that time they were only worth £150 a pair. That is one of the first 5 youngsters that I bred. I always had a knack somehow of finding the rarities. These are the pileated parrot from Brazil. Beautiful little parrot, and I successfully bred these for a year or two, but I bred nothing but males, unfortunately. These are the hawk-headed parrots, and the subspecies Fusifrons, which is the Brazilian, and these are very, very beautiful birds. She's gorgeous there, but the male, unfortunately I have no pictures of him, was even more stunning than she is. And after 2 years I bred youngsters from these, and I got 5 youngsters in the first year. There's a picture of the first 2 chicks to hatch, and the third one hatched also, and I hand reared them from the egg. Everything in those days was innovative. Nobody much had hand reared. A lot of weird different formulas to use. I reared those on baby food, farline it was called, and there's one of the youngsters once it was fully feathered and flying. My first macaw was a green-winged macaw. He was blind in one eye, we called him Nelson, and shortly after that I got my first pair of blue and gold macaws, birds that had been injured actually, and they couldn't fly, so I kept them outside. And there's the first young blue and gold we ever bred, which I was hand rearing, and a chick out of the second nest. And this was all done very amateurish in them days, and there it shows the blue and gold and the blue-throated conures and the hawkheads. I got a pair of queens around about the same time, and I bred 1 or 2 chicks from those each year. Another rarity that I bought at that time was the Plum Krampus. Very, very hard to find now in European aviaries, and there's that was the first chick I ever bred. Not bad to tell it comes from a very cold climate. Round about time Jim Hayward at Carterton Aviaries imported some sun conures which were very much in demand. I bought 5 of them, put them in a colony, and next year bred 3 chicks, and I thought, oh, they're going to be easy to breed. Didn't bother to tell anybody, and the year after there's a chap who got the first breeding medal for them.